Tim here, and today I'm going to teach you how to count basic rhythms. We'll start out with the basics of counting and then move quickly to more advanced topics, and then we're going to finish out the lesson by practicing some common rhythm patterns so that you'll be prepared to play anything. The first thing I want you to notice is how music is broken up into these boxes, and we call these measures. And like a box, it can fit a certain number of items in it, and we call these items a beat. And a beat is a regular interval of sound that kind of sets the driving along motion for the song. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your beat. And what tells us how many beats can fit in each box or each measure are these numbers right here, 4, 4. And you notice there's one for the treble clef up top and one for the bass clef on the bottom, but you only need to worry about one of them. They're both the same. The 4, 4 is what we call a time signature, and you just say the top number and then the bottom number, 4, 4. The top number tells you how many beats are in each measure, and the bottom number tells you what note gets one beat. And if the bottom number ends in a 4, that tells you that the quarter note gets one beat. And we'll talk about that in a minute. This is a quarter note. So I just said the quarter note gets one beat. So you're just going to play the piano and say 1. And that's it. I mentioned before that you can fit 4 quarter notes in a measure to complete a measure of 4, 4. That's what it means. 4 quarter notes, basically. 1, 2, 3, 4. And when you're counting, you want to keep in mind which of the 4 beats that you're on. Now, this trips up a lot of students in the beginning. What if you have 4 quarter notes on top and 4 quarter notes on bottom? Isn't this technically 8 beats? Well, no. The beats are actually counted in vertical columns, 1, 2, 3, 4. And if something lines up vertically, it's going to be played at the same time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Zooming into the top clef for a minute, we have a half note now, and a half note is going to get 2 beats. Notice how compared to the quarter note, that the head, which is the open part, is open on the half note, and it is filled in on the quarter note. So if a half note gets 2 beats, how many half notes can we fit in 4, 4? And you may remember from basic math that the answer is 2. With the first half note hitting on 1, 2, and the second half note hitting on 3, 4. So all together, 1, 2, 3, 4. And one thing a lot of students get wrong is they'll play it like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what was wrong with that? Well, remember, these actually hit for 2 beats. You don't just hit it on beat 1, right? 1. You have to hold it for 1, 2. You may be like, why are you bringing this up? Trust me, you will mess that up during your piano playing journey. What if I put a dot on that half note? Believe it or not, this is called a dotted half note. I know, it's very crazy, right? And a dotted half note gets 3 beats. But why does it get 3 beats? Well, here's why. The dot, are you listening? The dot adds half of the note's value back to itself. So if this is worth 2, it's going to be 2 plus half of 2, which is 1. So 2 plus 1 equals 3. How many dotted half notes can we fit in 4, 4? And the answer is just 1 because it takes up 3 beats. So therefore, how many beats do we have remaining? And the answer is 1. So a quarter note could go right here to complete the measure. And it would be counted 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a whole note. Notice how it's the only one with just a head. There's no stem on it anywhere. And it's the only one like this. A whole note, at least in 4, 4, takes up a whole measure. So therefore, how many beats do you think it would be? Well, a whole measure, right? A whole note. We're in 4, 4. It's worth 4. So the answer is obvious. We can only fit one of these in a measure, and it's very easy. You're just going to play the piano and count the 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, something really important I want to mention here, because a lot of students don't understand this in the beginning, is that it's very important when you're counting these to count evenly. You don't want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4. You want to go 1, 2, 3, 4 really evenly, because that's how beats in songs work. And if you don't play them evenly, it's going to be a disaster. The speed at which you count, though, is called the tempo, and you can count at a fast even tempo or a slow even tempo. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. Or 1, 2, 3, 4. It's got to be even, whether it's slow or it's fast. Okay, here we have both clefs at the same time again, right here on measure 1. Now, I wanted to bring this up as an example because we have different notes now between each of the hands, but let's not overcomplicate things, right? Think about it logically, really just 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So we have each of our 4 beats here in our left hand, or the bass clef, with each of the quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we have half notes up top worth how much? That's right, 2. So for every 2 of the left hand notes, you're going to play the right hand note. But keep in mind that the first notes, they align vertically, like I said, so they're going to be played together. But this one, notice there's nothing above this note, so there's no right hand note that needs to be played. However, you got to make sure you're still holding the half note up top for the complete 2 beats. So it'll sound something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. Just make sure you're holding those half notes. Okay, this next topic is one of the most important in the entire lesson, and I do mean that. I'm not just telling you that to keep you along. And this was something when I first learned about, it really opened up the world of rhythm to me, because before I understood this next thing, I didn't really understand rhythm, and after I understood it, it made a lot more sense, and it is subdivision. The idea of subdivision is breaking down a larger note into equal parts and then breaking that down into equal parts. And we actually saw that a little bit with this example I showed you right here, where we had the half notes up top and there were 2 quarter notes per half note. 1, 2. So basically, in a way, we've subdivided those half notes into 2 equal parts, which is quarter notes, right? And you can actually subdivide a whole note, right, which is the circle one with no stem, worth 4 beats. You could subdivide that into half notes, and then you could subdivide those into quarter notes. And guess what? You can even subdivide the quarter notes into smaller beats called, or smaller parts called eighth notes. And let me show you how that's done. Here we have 4 quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now say I wanted to subdivide, we also call that double timing, where I want twice as many notes, but I still want 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? Because that happens in music all the time. And we do that with what we call an eighth note, but there's a little bit more to it than that. But let me do this. Let me draw out 8 eighth notes in this measure, and let's go from there. So here we have 8 eighth notes, and our 4 beats are still intact. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We now just have 2 notes for every 1 beat. And to account for this other half of the beat, we use this term. It's called and, but it looks like a plus sign. So instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it's now played 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Notice that when I was counting the 1, 2, 3, 4, I kept that tempo the same, that counting 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, to keep everything in the same tempo. You still want the numbered beats to line up where they would have been otherwise. We're just adding in a second half here, and that is the beginning. It's the beginning of subdivision, basically. And that is the beginning of subdivision. Now let's say I wanted to take these 8 eighth notes, and I still wanted the 4 beats there, but I wanted to subdivide them again so that there's 4 notes for every 1 beat. And let me show you what that would look like. And we do this with what we call 16th notes. And how many do you think are in a measure of 4/4? That's right, 16. So here we have each of our 4 beats. It's the first note in the each grouping of 4. And that makes sense because I said this time we're splitting each beat into 4 equal parts using 16th notes. Now we have our numbers. But believe it or not, the ands are also still in here as well. They're the second half of the beat. So where do you think they should go? Well, if there's, 4 little parts per beat, well, each 2 would be a half, right? So therefore, our and placement would be right here. But we still have to account for the other parts of each beat. And I'm just going to tell you what it is because this is new stuff. We use the terms E and So in practice, this is what it's going to sound like. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and So in practice, this is what it's going to sound like. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and Okay, so now you know the basics of rhythm, you know about time signatures, and you know about subdivision, which means there's only actually two sections left. One is I'm going to go over the common rhythm patterns, or some of them, that you're going to find as a beginner piano student. And then we're going to finish things up with a quiz just to make sure that you've got everything. And then actually I do have a bonus tip at the end. So I guess there's 3 sections left. Let's get on to... Wait, before we do that, I just want to quickly say, like I like to say in every video, thank you so much for those that have supported the channel over the years, from the regular viewers to the channel members to the mods to people that sign up for courses over on my website, pianolessonsontheweb.com. Without your support, we wouldn't have been able to make it this far, and I just want to say thank you. Now, onto the common rhythm patterns. Okay, taking a look at this one, you may be a little confused because you're like, wait a second, I don't even know what note this is. But you do know. You do know if you think about it, if you really think about it, right? Because you're like, it's a dotted note, but this one's a dotted quarter note. We did the dotted half note. Well, do you remember what I said during the dotted explanation? What does the dot do? You have to go back if you can't remember. That's okay, I'll tell you right now. The dot adds half of the note's value back to itself. So if the quarter note's worth 1, it's 1 plus half of 1, so 1 plus a half, right? So we know now that this note, the dotted quarter note, gets 1.5 beats, but how in the world are you even going to count that? Well, here's how. So remember when we were subdividing into our 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 ands? And notice how every beat had a number and then an and to it, right? 1 and 2 and 3 and those were 2 halves of a beat coming together. 1 half, 2 halves, 3 halves, 4 halves. Now, here's where the explanation comes in. You got to remember or ask yourself how many halves, because we know how to count halves, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. How many halves are in 1.5? So you have a half, that's a half. You have another half, that's a whole, that's 1. And then you have another half. So there's 3 halves in 1.5. So it's going to take up 1, but that's only half of our beat. It's going to take up and, that's the second half of the first beat. And it's going to take up the first half of beat 2. With this next 8th note hitting on and, which makes sense, right? So now we have this taking up 1 and 2, 3 halves, with the 8th note resting on this half, and it makes sense, right? Because this will take up 1 and 2, with each of these representing a half, and then the and a 2 will be right there. So it'll be counted like this. 1 and 2 and, right? And then we have 3, 4. Now, a lot of students make a mistake with this because they'll do 1 and 2 and 3, 4, right? And they're like, because once you get to these, there's no ands going on. So you're like, well, how do I keep counting? So how do I keep counting evenly? Sorry, I can't talk today. I say that in every video. So how do I continue to count evenly, even though the notes kind of slow down here? Well, what I like to do is whenever you have a measure or even a piece that has 8th notes in it, or dotted quarter notes, or something where you have to subdivide, you want to continue subdividing the even beats. So instead of 3, 4, I'm going to count this as 3 and 4 and. And I always like to draw these little underlines just to tell me how many of the beats each of these takes up. So now we'll be able to count it nice and even. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The same thing would be like if you had a whole note, right? That's a long time to be counting 4 beats. So I would count it as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And by adding in the ands or the subdivisions, it allows you to count more accurately. And I don't want to tell you this right away because you're a beginner, But if you really want to get even more accurate, you could subdivide the whole thing into 16ths. We're not going to do that right now with the 1 E and a 2 E and A's. It would sound something like this, though. 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a. Notice how that was nice and even? And it's because I was subdividing by smaller parts, and that makes it easier to subdivide and count accurately. Okay, here's another one, and you may be like, I don't even know what these are again. Well, that's another reason I showed this to you. Well, here we go. We're in 4/4 still. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, but we have these weird little squigglies where the second and fourth quarter note should be. And these are called quarter rests. So like the quarter note gets 1 beat, 1. The quarter rest also gets 1 beat. However, you don't play for that beat. That's why they're called rests. So this is actually going to be counted like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now I continued to subdivide just to make sure I was counting evenly. But on beats 2 and 4, you come off the note and you make sure that there's a little silence in there. Because music isn't just all about sound, right? If you think about your most favorite music, it's not like they're constantly playing a note every, they are constantly playing notes, but it's sometimes the pauses, and often the pauses in between the musical phrases and the ideas that really, really helps get more of the ideas across, right? So when we talk, comma, we talk in sentences, period. And the rests, comma, are kind of like the punctuation, period. Got it? Okay, another one, you're like, dude, why are you giving us stuff we don't know? Well, here's why, so that you do know it. Okay, look here. We have 4/4. We have the first 2 beats taken up by this block thing. And then we have the other 2 beats taken up by the half note. We all know the half note is worth 2 beats. So this first part here is actually the half rest, and you don't play for 2 beats. So again, it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Or if you wanted to subdivide it, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, now we have both staffs together at the same time. And remember what I said in the beginning. What did I say to make this easier? I said that things line up in vertical columns between each staff, right? So our 4 beats are right here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, what's going on? Well, up top, we have beats being played on beat 1, not 2, but 3, and not 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Down here, we have a rest, and then we're playing on beats 2, and then 4. So this would be counted like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. And I could have played a little better because you got to remember that when you're resting in one clef or one staff, that it has to be total silence, right? So I can't go 1, 2, 3, 4. I've held these too long. It's got to go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, going back to just one clef at a time. Now, what I have here is a quarter note going to eighth notes, going to 16ths, but going into quarter. And I want this example to be a good lesson or a good example for what we do when we go from slower notes to more quick notes to quicker notes back to slower notes. Now, I already told you how to deal with this, and the answer was subdivision. And what I like to do here is examine the measure and determine what is the smallest note value. And the smallest note value, meaning the quickest, are these 16th notes here, right? We counted this as the number and then E and A. So in this case, it's 3 E and A because we're on beat 3. And that's what it would look like. But what that means, though, and the reason we want to focus in on here, is that whenever you subdivide by the smallest amount, so in 16ths it's 3 E and A, you want to subdivide the entire measure by that, and that will make sure that you're counting super consistently the entire time. And again, I like to chart them out like this, and I use the underline to basically signify how long this note is going to be held for. So 1 E and A, that quarter note, is going to sound awfully slow compared to the rest of these. and then you have 2E and 3E and then back to the quarter for 4E and Remember, to count consistently, this will take a lot of time to get used to, but that's okay. Going to be counted 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and one more time. 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and so it's going to be counted 1E and 2E and 3E and 4E and Okay, there's one more rest I want to tell you about before we conclude today, and that is the eighth rest. It's this one right here. Now, remember, with eighth notes, we're going to be counted 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So let me chart those out. So you just got to be really careful here that when you count 1, you're not playing anything, and this comes in on and. We call this the and of 1. Then we call this beat 2 the and of 2. 3, the and of 3. So you're going to see that terminology used a lot in rhythm, where somebody's going to say, we're going to start from the second half of beat 2, or they'll say the and of beat 2, and they're specifically referencing the second half of that measure, or the second half of that beat, excuse me. So where would the and of 4 be? It would be right there. Okay, I totally forgot. I said that there were 3 sections left, and there are technically 3 sections left now because I have to give you a quiz. I forgot that I'm supposed to teach you how to practice these, and then we're going to finish up the lesson. So you ready? Here's the quiz. These will go quick, though. We're almost on the home stretch, but this part of the lesson is important because this is like the understanding and practicing part of the lesson, and you can imagine why that's important. So question first. These are easy, but if you don't understand these, you got to go back and watch the lesson again. I'm serious. So question 1 is music is broken up into boxes. Remember, what are these boxes called? That's an easy one, right? Number 2 is what is it called when you break up notes into smaller, indivisible parts? And then question 3 goes along with that, and that is if you are doing this thing where you're breaking them up into smaller indivisible parts, what measure or what notes should you look for to base that off of? Do you do it by the slower quarter notes, or you do it by the fast 16th notes, or somewhere in between? I did give you that answer, I don't know, like 5-10 minutes ago or so. So I'm not going to tell you the answers to those. Those should be pretty straightforward. Again, if you don't know, you're going to have to watch the lesson because I did explicitly kind of tell you what they are. But here's the really important thing. It's time for the practice assignment, because if you just do this lesson and then never look at rhythm again, you'll be surprised how much you forget and how fast. So this is what I want you to do. I want you to go to this web address. It's Musicca, musicca.com/exercises/circle/130. It's up here right at the top. I will highlight it. So type that in. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description. And all I want you to do is I want you to go through these, and I want you to do these 5 kind of exercises that are going to walk you through everything. So what this does is it gives you a simple rhythm to start with. So these are all quarter notes. You should be able to do this. And once you hit play here, it will give you like kind of a metronome counting, like click, 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 click. And then with your keyboard, you can't see it here, with the space bar, you're going to try to hit these exactly in time. So here we go. So it's going to give me a practice round first. So here's the practice. So this is like the practice. You're listening. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, I got them perfect. So then what you want to do is then you want to go on to the next one, which was the whole and half notes. And like I said, just go through all these because it will give you an additional little practice into each of these so that music is really important, that you don't just understand something on paper, but you can practice it and master it as well. Okay, final section for real this time. I want to first tell you that learning rhythm is a small piece of what you need to do to be able to learn piano or any instrument effectively. And all the other things you're going to need to know, I put in a playlist right here. So this is a new course for beginners that's aimed to give you everything you need to know to start becoming successful at piano. Been your piano teacher, Tim here. Watch that video, those videos, and I'll see you next time.